What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to On Road All Day. I'm your host, Jance, and my god, it's a beautiful day just to kick back here in the Arctic weather of Ontario. Luckily, I've got my Q7 to try the cold environment. So today, I'm gonna get into the history, specs, and reasons why Volkswagen invented this magnanimous engine, the VR-6. So around 1990, Volkswagen were attempting to make a six-cylinder with a low production cost with the size and package of an inline four. They had an idea of using a single-cylinder head that will keep things cheap and less complicated. Volkswagen at first were looking at the benefits of a V6, but also the common issues with a V6. Unlike a V6 in comparison to a four-banger, it produces more power, runs smoother, and provides better stability and handling than that of a V8. But there's a few disadvantages to the V6's design, such as the use of two-cylinder banks, meaning more moving parts and more problems, also making it more difficult to maintain since basically it's two inline threes stuck together. A V6 also requires a balancing shaft, which is used to dampen unwanted inertia or basically minimize movement. And then there's counterweights, which is supposed to again dampen movement within the bottom end. And V6s can be hard to swap into other cars since they are known for being pretty wide. As for inline sixes, they've got a neat and simplistic design where all six cylinders sit directly in line with each other. With this type of setup, there's no need for separate heads, balancing shafts, or counterweights. In conclusion, less parts equals less problems. Inline sixes are great and all, and there's no doubt that they're more balanced than the V6, but when compared to an inline four, they're much longer horizontally and transversely. There just isn't enough room for the transmission to fit with the inline six. If it's horizontally mounted, then it's going to be a nightmare reaching the transmission. Well, that's if you plan on doing an engine swap or transmission swap. So Volkswagen combined the best of both worlds, and the 2.8 liter VR6 was born. After Volkswagen proved that this is a cutting-edge design of an engine, they added their 2.8 liter to their Mark III Passats and Corrados from 1991 to 1998. And between 1994 to 1998, these would be used in the Golfs and Jettas. And this naturally aspirated narrow six-cylinder made a decent power output of 174 bhp at 5,800 rpm and 173 foot-pounds of torque or pound-feet of torque at 4,200 rpm. And it has a bore and stroke of 81mm by 90.3mm and a compression ratio of 10:1, which wasn't bad for a six-cylinder back in the day. And the cam duration on the intake and exhaust side is about 12mm by 11.05mm. Although these engines were versatile and used in many of Volkswagen's cars, they weren't without problems, unfortunately. These engines also have more lag time than competitors and successive versions, including VR-5, which is basically a smaller version of the 2.8 liter VR6, just with one cylinder chopped off, making it a 2.3 liter. And these common problems include cooling system issues and leaking head gaskets. Spark plugs also have the tendency to wear out, or including wires, and if they're not replaced in time, this could cause an engine misfire. Keeping up with regular oil changes can also prevent damage to the spark plugs and other sensitive components. In 1994, a 2.9 liter variant was introduced in the newer trim of the Passat and Golf 3. The engine code was also changed to ABV, and this is basically a bored-up version of the 2.8 12-valve engine, except the drivetrain has been changed from 12 valves to 24 valves, and the bore has been increased to about 82mm, while the stroke remains the same, just like the 2.8 liter. In 2002, Volkswagen invented a newer and more powerful VR configurated six-cylinder, the EA390 3.2-liter VR-6. The 3.2 was used in the Audi TT, the Beetle RSI, Cayenne, A3, and the R32. All made 240 horsepower at 6,200 RPMs and 236 pound-feet of torque at 2,800 RPM, while the Porsche Cayenne, TT, and A3 made about 250 horsepower at 6,300 RPM or 236 pound-feet of torque at around 2,500 RPM. The 3.2 featured a cast iron block, aluminum head, had a bore and stroke of 84 millimeters by 95.9 millimeters, and a compression ratio was raised from 10:1 to 1 all the way to 11:3 to 1, giving the 3.2 a sweet spot, where peak torque kicks in at about 1900 to 5800 RPM. In August of 2007, Volkswagen used the same engine used in the Mark IV R32 in their Mark V R32 lineup, which sold a limited production of 5,000 units. Not only that, but Volkswagen released a new R-line called the Passat R36 in September of 2007. It came with a new VR6 engine called the EA390, which is confusing because the 3.2 liter is the EA390, but actually they made two versions of these 3-liter VR6 engines, which is the 3.2 and the 3.6. The 3.6 had a narrower V angle of 10.6 degrees, and the cylinder offset was changed from 12.5 millimeters all the way to 22 millimeters. The cylinder block is newer than the 3.2, but has the same dimensions, and the pistons are made of aluminum alloy with graphite coating for higher temperature resistance. In short, the 3.6 is more powerful than the 3.2, able to put out 260 to 300 horsepower depending on models, and is more reliable since it has a lifespan of 400,000 kilometers or more. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. I do apologize for posting late. I was sick, I was down with a cold, but otherwise, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll post some more